Hey y'all, Deepro here. Today I'm going to show you how to get from the API playground to an HTTP request with the Monday platform API. So if you're a developer who has been typing away, adding queries to the API playground, understanding how our schema works, understanding what data you can get, amazing. Now you probably want to take it to the next level and actually turn that into some code you can run in a production app. In order to do that, you will need to convert this query into an actual HTTP request that you can then run with custom code or using a no-code platform like Make. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to format that HTTP request. We're going to use Postman for this as well as the API playground. So as you can see, I have this query right here. It gets the current user's name, birthday, and the user ID. Awesome, wonderful. I'm now going to turn this into an API call in Postman. Okay, so let's go ahead and open Postman and we can make this API call. So you can see right here, I've already got a little bit set up. I'll walk you through what I've done. So this is a new request in Postman. Just a bit of backstory, Postman is a tool you can use to test APIs. The reason we're using this is it gives us a nice interface to see all the different elements of the request. So it's a nice thing to talk through. You don't have to use Postman for this, but I'll walk you through it anyway. So first things first, Monday does use GraphQL. Every request has to be a post request, so go ahead and add that at the top. And then use the API endpoint. Every query goes to the same endpoint, api.monday.com/v2. Make sure you're using HTTPS in that as well. Okay, now every request also has to be a JSON, has to have a JSON body. And so we're going to go to body, we're going to hit raw, and we're going to click JSON, okay? Postman has a really neat GraphQL option that you can click and play around with. It is actually a really great developer experience, but just for the purpose of this video, I want to show you what the core request looks like. And then finally, you need to make sure that your request has authorization. When in Postman, you go to the authorization section and you add your API key. But basically, what you need to do is add your API token to the headers. Okay, so in the headers, I have an authorization header, and my API key is there. If you're wondering where to get your API key, you can get it from the API token section of your developer center. So you go in here, API token, you can copy this and then use it in your requests. Okay, back to the playground. Let's go ahead and now actually make this query. So I'm going to copy this query and I'm going to go back into Postman and I'm going to start writing the JSON body. Okay, all requests need to have the query as the query key. So my JSON is going to have query, colon, and then the actual query. Now when I paste this from the playground, I'm just going to have a lot of line breaks. This is something you can handle when you're writing code, but in Postman, it doesn't like the line breaks, and so I am just going to delete everything and make it all one line. So we're good here. And now I hit send. And I erase this, and you can see that I've gotten this data back. I get a 200, okay, we're good to go. Great. So that is the core of making HTTP requests and making API calls to the Monday platform API. I'm now going to show you a couple of more advanced examples that you can use to, if you're making more complex queries or queries where there's a few issues. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is update column value. This is a super common request. Basically, you are trying to change a specific column value on a specific item on a specific board. So let me first set this up. I'm going to show you how to do this. I need to supply a board ID and an item ID. Okay, so I'm going to go to my board here. I'm going to grab the board ID, paste it in here, and then I'm going to grab an item. Let's say it's this item right here. And you can see the item ID comes after pulses. I'm going to add that here. I'm going to then update the column ID to be this column. It's status, great. And then the value, in this case, instead of it being done, I'm going to say I want this to be stuck. So I can type this as a string, stuck, perfect. And now when I hit run, This is going to update this to stuck. Great. I'm going to now make this blank again so you can see it again. Now, this is great in the API playground, but what happens when you actually bring this to Postman? I'm going to show you. Now, like before, I'm going to take this, I'm going to add the query into the JSON, into the value here as a string. And after I delete all of the line breaks, you're going to see I have some issues with this, okay? You can see it's very angry, a lot of underlines, and this parser is getting a little bit confused. Now, why is it getting a little bit confused? Because I have strings inside of the query string, okay? Now, this is problematic because Postman and like our request parser don't really know where the query string ends and where my arguments begin, okay? There's two ways to solve this, okay? Number one, we can add escape characters before every inner string, before every inner quotation mark. So I can add a backslash before every single quote, and this will turn this into a valid string because, of course, I'm escaping those inner strings saying don't take this literally. And now when I hit send, this will successfully make this API call, and I'm good to go. Perfect. And if I actually open up the board, you can see that the stuck has been updated. Now, this is fine when you're testing, but in practice, it is not a very good practice to update the query itself. You probably want to keep the same query when making multiple API calls and just updating the arguments. The way to do that, the best way to do that with GraphQL is to use GraphQL variables. Now, GraphQL variables are they're like a language feature that allow you to pass arguments and other data into your query without actually like updating the query string itself. I'm going to show you how to do that first in the playground. We're gonna do a couple of things to like turn these dynamic fields, like item ID, board ID. These are going to change. Column ID value. These are going to change. We're going to turn those into variables, and then we can actually much more easily construct this request. So to do that, I'm going to first pull up this variables pane on the bottom. And this is this pane lets you pass variables with your query. Variables are JSON that essentially describes fields that live inside of your query. Okay, and there's a syntax around that. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, let me update my let me change my board ID into a variable. So I'm going to start by coming up here after the operation name. I'm going to open up some parentheses, and I'm going to declare a variable by writing $, and then the name of the variable. In this case, I'm just going to say board underscore ID. We can use variables that are the same as arguments inside of our query. That is allowed. Just make sure you do it in such a way where you don't get confused later. But for this, the purpose of this, I think it's fine. Every time you declare a variable, you also have to declare a type. Remember, GraphQL is strongly typed, so you need to make sure that every element does have a type in it. So I'm going to do ID exclamation mark. And now I'm going to get an error saying that this is never used. So I need to now replace this here. And I'm actually just going to copy this this board ID so I have it later. And I'm going to I'm going to replace it with $ board ID. Now, this is fine, but my query still doesn't know what board ID to put inside. And so I'm going to add that to my variables. So here I can just write board ID, colon, and then the number that I have. And I'm just going to hit run, and let's see what happens. Boom. The request is made. This is a valid request. Yay, perfect, wonderful. Step 2 is now converting all of my arguments into variables. I'm going to start with these strings. I'm going to replace this with something called column underscore ID. I'm also going to declare this here. And then I'm going to add it to my variables. I'm also going to do column value. And then finally, let me add column value here too. And then finally, item ID. Okay, so now what I have done is I have added variables, or I've declared variables in my query up here. I then use them inside of my query, and then I pass the actual values of these variables in a separate variables object. Okay, this is what it looks like in the playground. If it's not hitting you just yet, that's okay. Okay, because in the playground, there's a lot of like finessing you have to do in order to get this to work. Where variables really shine is when you actually have to construct an HTTP request, because I can then take this mutation, I can add it to the query right here, and as before, I have to delete all of the line breaks. And you can see immediately now I don't have any like inner strings inside of this query, so I don't have to worry about like escape characters, right? But then on top of that, what I can now do is pass my variables as a separate key inside of this JSON. Okay, so let me make this smaller. I can then I'll just grab these variables right here, copy, and I'm going to paste them here. So now what I've basically done is I have extracted all of the dynamic data inside of this request into a separate part of the JSON, and now I can control this a lot easier, right? Instead of having to do string interpolation and like grab this board ID and stick it somewhere inside of this query string, I have it in the separate JSON that I can construct very easily and pass. And now when I hit send, hopefully this works. There we go. It works. I can still get this change simple column value mutation. I can very easily update the column value too from stuck to working on it. And that should work. And if I go back to my board, this is now working on it. Okay, so I've used variables now to to solve two problems. Okay, the first problem is I don't need to escape strings anymore, and number two, I can much more easily add dynamic data to my queries without updating the query and potentially finding syntax errors and things like that. So this is a much more consistent, reliable way of making these queries without worrying about, without doing way too much or too many complicated things when constructing this query. All right, so that is the second kind of HTTP request. I told you I would give you a couple of examples. Third example is get board views. This is going to be a query that is actually like not available in the default version of the API. So the Monday API is versioned. Every schema every version of our API has a specific schema, which means it has specific fields. And every time we add a field or change a field, we add it to the next version. Okay, this way the current version is always consistent and does not have breaking changes. In order to access a specific version, you need to pass a header in your API call, and so we're going to do that right now. So with get board views, when you're on the current API version, this doesn't return any data, and then when I go into the release candidate, it actually returns data. Okay, so what I'm going to now do is basically pass this like new version 2025.10 in the API call. Okay, so back to this request, I can delete the variables. We don't need these anymore, and I'm going to update the query to the one that I just wrote down. All right, so now I have this query. I'm going to send it as is. I don't have a version header, and you'll see that I get blank data here. Okay, for some in this field, I get blank data. In With other fields, you may even get like a syntax error saying that this field doesn't exist. So now what I want to do is actually use the new version. To do that, I'm going to go back to my headers, and I'm going to add a new header called API-version. I think PI has to be capital. And for like as the value of this version, the value of this header, I'm gonna add like an API version. All of our API versions have a structure year and then month, and it is based on the month that this API comes out. The easiest way to find the right version is to just go to the playground, click on this, and then you'll see the release candidate is 2025-10. Okay, so I'm going to write in the API version header 2025-10. I'm going to hit send. And now this data actually comes back, right? I'm using the new version of the API, and it's actually returning the board view from this board. And just to show you that this actually exists, I have a board view here called chart, and this is the content for it, okay? So I've shown you 3 different API calls that you can make and the relevant HTTP requests as well. Just as a recap, our HTTP requests have to all be posts. They have to be to the same endpoint. Make sure to pass your API key in the authorization header. Make sure to pass an API version if you want to get a specific version. And use variables, especially when you have strings inside of your API call. But there you have it. I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us in our developer community. Actually, why don't I show you how to get there? You open a new tab. I'm going to go to developer-community.monday.com, and you can access the community. You can ask us questions there and get help as you need. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. I know this was a little bit of a longer one, but I hope you got something out of it and learned a bit more about the Monday API. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.